What do you think is the biggest threat to your retirement? Most people would probably say a market crash. Others might say inflation, eroding away their buying power every year. In my experience, the bigger danger is something far more predictable and far more subtle: taxes. I've seen people obsess over getting an extra 1 or 2% return in the market while completely ignoring the silent drain happening in the background every single year. And that drain can destroy retirement faster than a bad investment ever could. Because you can spend 30 or 40 years building a retirement portfolio only to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars unnecessarily because nobody showed you how to structure your withdrawals the right way. So, today I want to show you why tax planning matters more than investment returns in retirement, the costly mistakes many retirees make without realizing it, and how strategic tax planning can potentially add more usable income to your retirement without taking on more market risk. Because sometimes the easiest way to retirement success isn't earning more, it's keeping more of what you already have. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some retirees with smaller portfolios can actually live better retirements than people with much larger accounts. Now, before we get started, I wanted to mention at Bunza Wealth Management, we specialize in helping retirees like you to make smarter decisions around taxes, income planning, and long-term wealth management, which means you can keep more of what you worked your whole life to build. So if you're retired or planning to retire soon and you want help creating a tax-efficient retirement strategy, there's a link below this video where you can schedule a call with us. There's no cost for this call and no obligation to move forward. Just a friendly conversation to figure out if we can help you keep more of your nest egg for yourself rather than handing it over to the IRS. Now let's get right into the video, and I'll show you what I mean. A few years ago, I met with an older couple who had done what most people would consider everything right. They'd saved diligently, they'd invested consistently, and they had accumulated a solid retirement portfolio. On paper, they looked financially secure, but there was one problem. Almost all of their money was trapped inside tax-deferred retirement accounts, and nobody had ever shown them what would happen once required minimum distributions started. So when retirement finally arrived, their taxable income exploded, their taxes on their Social Security went up, and their Medicare premiums increased. Every withdrawal they made triggered another layer of taxes. They had spent decades focused on growing the account balance, but almost no time planning how to actually take the money out efficiently. And this is incredibly common because the financial industry spends a lot of time talking about returns, but very little time talking about tax strategy. Here's the irony. If your portfolio earns 8% annually, but you lose a huge portion to taxes, your actual spendable retirement income may not improve much at all. Meanwhile, someone with slightly lower returns but a highly efficient tax strategy can often keep significantly more of their money over time by using tools like Roth conversions, withdrawal sequencing, capital loss harvesting, and more. That's the new game most retirees don't realize they're playing. Because retirement isn't just about accumulation anymore, like back when you were working. It's about distribution. And distribution is where taxes matter most. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. In retirement, taxes don't operate in isolation. They affect almost everything: your Medicare premiums, your Social Security taxation, your survivor income strategy, your legacy plan, even how much flexibility you have during market downturns. And most people don't realize how quickly these layers can stack together and compound. For example, I've seen retirees unknowingly trigger higher Medicare costs simply because they took larger IRA withdrawals in the wrong year. One decision created a chain reaction: higher taxes, higher premiums, less net income, but this was completely avoidable. And this is why tax planning is not just a nice bonus in retirement, it's one of the core pillars. Moving on. Here's a point that many people miss. Good tax planning is not something you do once. It's an ongoing strategy because tax laws change, markets change, your retirement goals change, and the right strategy for you at age 62 may not be the right strategy at 72. That's why having an actual plan matters, not just investments, a solid plan. At Bunza Wealth Management, one thing we focus heavily on is helping retirees coordinate all the moving parts together: investments, taxes, income planning, withdrawal strategies, long-term wealth management, all pulling in the same direction towards their retirement goals, because these things are all inherently connected. And when they're handled separately, mistakes happen. A lot of retirees today have multiple advisors, multiple accounts, scattered strategies, but nobody looking at the full picture. And that creates blind spots. So if you're retired or getting close to retirement and want a coordinated retirement strategy tailored to your unique situation, there's a link below where you can schedule a call with our team. Next, let me show you one of the biggest retirement tax traps I see: required minimum distributions. Most people don't think much about them while they're working or recently retired. But later in retirement, they can become a serious issue because once those distributions begin, the government decides how much taxable income must come out every year, whether you need the money or not. And if your account balance has grown substantially over time, those required withdrawals are bigger, which can push you into higher tax brackets very quickly. This is why proactive tax planning years earlier can make such a massive difference. Sometimes strategically moving portions of retirement savings into Roth accounts before required minimum distributions begin can help create more flexibility later. Not always, of course. Every situation is different, but this is exactly why proactive planning matters, because by the time most people realize there's a problem, it's often too late to fix it. Some people assume tax planning is only for wealthy families, but that's not true. In my experience, middle and upper middle class retirees are often the ones who benefit most from proper planning because they typically have substantial retirement savings but fewer advanced strategies already in place. And unfortunately, many of them simply defer taxes as long as possible. But retirement changes the equation. Sometimes paying taxes strategically now can reduce taxes dramatically later. And this is where many generic financial plans fall short. They focus almost entirely on portfolio growth projections, average returns, Monte Carlo simulations, charts, graphs. But unless you want to pay more taxes than you need to, retirement planning has to go beyond investments alone. Now, don't get me wrong. Investment management still matters. Of course it does. You still need an appropriate portfolio strategy aligned with your goals and risk tolerance, because in retirement, the difference between a successful retirement and a stressful retirement is often determined less by how much you earn and more by how efficiently you manage what you already have. That's the shift many retirees never fully make. Accumulation thinking versus distribution thinking, very different strategies. And retirees who understand this early often create far more stability and flexibility later. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, nobody has ever really explained retirement taxes to me this way before, you're not alone. Most people spend their entire working lives focused on saving without ever being taught how retirement income actually works. And unfortunately, once retirement begins, those poor decisions become much harder to reverse. That's why proactive planning matters, especially in the years leading into retirement. So if you want help building a more tax-efficient retirement strategy, or you simply want a second opinion on whether your current plan is exposing you to unnecessary taxes later, we work with retirees and pre-retirees to help coordinate tax planning, investment management, retirement income, and long-term financial strategy together under one comprehensive plan. You can schedule a conversation with our team using the link below this video. We'll look at your situation, help you evaluate where your future tax risks may exist, and see whether you have opportunities to reduce your retirement tax burden now before problems show up later. That's it for today's video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.